Wonderful. So again, welcome everyone to another session of Nice Room Education, StrataLogica. We're delighted to have you with us today as we look at some of the best practices for student engagement. We have Melissa Knowles with us again, and if you've been on some of our webinars before, you know that Melissa uses StrataLogica every day in her library. So she is not a classroom teacher, but rather a librarian, and finds StrataLogica to be a great tool for daily use. So Melissa, thank you for being here with us again, for sharing your best practices, and I want to just turn it over to you and let you dive right in and get us going there. But again, thanks so much for being with us.
Great, I'm excited. Thank you so much. Yes, StrataLogica wasn't a lot around when I was a classroom teacher, but having that background experience, we're able to incorporate it with all our teachers and utilize some of the best practices in teaching for student engagement. They can all be found within the StrataLogica program and can be enhancing your classroom every day. Pam's right. I turn on StrataLogica every day as I check my emails in the morning to make sure what the announcements are and everything that's going on in the school. If anybody needs any help, StrataLogica gets opened because it is utilized so many times with students in my classroom, whether they have questions on location and just so many things with books, where they've been. They like to see it, not just hear about it. So let's get started today. So our goals for today are very simple. We as teachers are looking always to innovate, find new ways to teach, best teaching practices. We're always trying to find the best way for our students. So it's important to utilize some of the tried and true research-based best practices. So I'm going to talk about 5 of those today and how you can utilize them in StrataLogica. So at the end, I would also like to see, if you utilize StrataLogica currently, how you can see these effective teaching practices could be utilized in your classroom with StrataLogica, or if you're not quite using StrataLogica yet, how you could use it to enhance your classroom teaching. Let's get started. So the first best practice I chose was teacher clarity, and this is something that has been big for a few years in my area, and that is listing your goals and objectives for learning, no matter the lesson. Also, giving clear directions for student success. So letting the students know what means success with that learning. This can be done a lot of ways. So you can use a rubric or showing a successful finished product that a previous class did. This practice I do myself constantly. Just recently I wrote a grant, so I always like to read over the successful grant applications in order to gain insight to what the reviewers are looking for winners. So it's the same thing whether we're students or practicing that in our work environment or life. So we all know that identifying the goals and objectives are important because students need to know what they are going to do, why they're going to do it, and how to meet that objective. So it hasn't always been clear in the past and laid out and listed. And so now I want to show you in StrataLogica how easy it is to do. So I chose the first example. I chose a lesson about Women's History Month, and you can search in the community for this lesson. So if you see in the upper right hand corner, you'll see the title of any presentation or project that I'm going to show you today. So if it's something you're interested in, you can search in the community for it later. They're all out there, created by teachers, ready for you to use. So I do want to show you StrataLogica offers a lot of ways for teacher clarity to be implemented directly into the lesson. And what I want to show you then is the bottom. So you can see on the right hand side, if you look at the editing page, under display, there is a check mark for title and description. And what that means is that it's going to stay, the title, Women's History Month, and the description will stay on the screen all the time. So that is checked and included. I like to keep it out there. They can then go and minimize it, but later, if they don't need it anymore, or they can come back to it, pop it right back up there. So I really like that option. This opening presentation is how one teacher did it. So what I want to show you is that at the beginning, in the first paragraph, she writes her why. Why is answered directly on this page. Then she's letting the kids know how much time it should take for them to complete this. If it takes longer, why did it take longer? Were you distracted? Was something happening? Were you having any trouble? So she then goes straight into the directions. So everything is there. What materials they'll need, their worksheets are going to be directly located on the screen for them to access. Everything is right there. You can literally tell the kids to open this page or assign it to them, and I'm going to show you that later, how they'll see their assignments, and they can take it from beginning to end, which is something I really like about this. And some of my classes have 28 students. So in a library situation when it's only me, and we're utilizing technology, so we have all kinds of different issues. I love that StrataLogica's ease and completeness for teacher clarity is there. So I don't have near as many questions on what do I do now or what do I do next. And it really has helped me to release to the students for their ownership of their learning. So I want to then show you the next slide using the same lesson. When I click the assignment pin, once again, as the students move through this assignment, I really like that everything is right there. The teacher has told them exactly where to go to find out their worksheet, fill it out as long as you go, and then look at pins for specific parts. So the students know exactly what they're doing as they go through the lesson. So that is really nice. They're going to be successful. They have a road to success right here. Now this particular lesson is called Women in Poetry, which I really like. It has a description also at the top. Now this is a project for students to complete. So this description is always available at the top of the right-hand side, if you can see that under description. The students can then expand it out or minimize it where it doesn't have to be there all the time. So then look at the drop-down box in the top center. Adding a note offers ideal communication between student, teacher, and peers throughout the project. Once again, if a student is having trouble, teacher clarity is available right there in that instant note to the student. We're going to talk more about the notes later as we move into other best practices. And that is happening now with communication. So we've got the communication of the criteria in the assignment always there available to the student. We can also utilize feedback and encouragement, questions. Then you can also do some peer review and support from teachers and students for students that are struggling. So communication is a big issue, especially when you're dealing with lots of students and short time. You can get to everybody with this. It may not be during the class, but it may be later as they're working on their assignment at home or later on during the day. So this one is Women's History Month, and you can see once again that the directions are clearly communicated to the student. Always there, ready to go, exactly what to do. So what I like about this is a lot of times when my kids come home, they've got to text another student, or if they're still not sure of instructions, they don't have any avenue of help. If your instructions are clear, utilizing StrataLogica, the instructions are always there. The student can go there and look at it, see it exactly. They're not relying on just another student's opinion. They can literally read it for themselves and then make their own determination about what they need to do. So you can also add notes for feedback in StrataLogica. And this is extremely important for students' value and confidence in what they're doing in the project or presentation or assignment, depending on what you're doing. So adding a note is so easy. And we all know that feedback is also research proven. So any form of communication can happen through notes, peer evaluations, encouragement, questions. I really enjoy this type of communications because I'm always getting back to the student directly in their project. It's so easy. Also remember, in a project, you can see exactly what the student has contributed to the lesson. So if you see one student that's falling behind, not able to complete their assignments, then you can quickly send them a note. What can I do to support you? What are you having issues with? What's going on? How can I help you? I've found that this effort and this care has really enhanced the product then afterwards. Also, a lot of students don't want to ask questions, and so this really helps me initiate the conversation. A lot of my students are shy and aren't really as extroverts, and so this really helps them. They don't, just like a text and what we think of with social media, they're then able to show a lot more. I'm getting a lot more communication with them off screen than sometimes in person. So I did also want to say that in StrataLogica, this type of feedback allows teachers to maintain high expectations while continuing to challenge students to meet their objectives. It's simple and easy. You're not writing and sending a bunch of different emails. You're right in here in a note to the group. If you need to do something privately, you can. So it has been very effective with getting objectives completed, making sure the work stays top quality. If they're missing something and they're not realizing it, then either using questioning or directly stating, I don't see this. Can you help me find where it is? When do you plan to get this finished? Lots of feedback, things they're going to find in the jobs as we get our students college and career ready. Students can evaluate even the teacher on any suggestions they would change to the lesson, their favorite part of the lesson. I like to ask the question, where do you feel that your learning occurred during this lesson? It really gets the students thinking about their learning and what the goal of the lesson is, keeps their mind on task, and I've gotten some really interesting answers, and so it's something that I'm continuing to do as they get more used to it. Their answers are getting better and better, as they are with many of our goal-setting strategies and things like that that we continuously communicate with our students. Another way StrataLogica allows you to communicate is through the homepage, which is so easy. As soon as the students log in, it pops up. I don't currently have any notices shared or system notices on mine at this time, but right where that yellow arrow is, you would see anything, assignments that have been shared, anything right there for the student. They then click it, open it, go straight to it in StrataLogica. It's automatically saved to their gallery if they'd also like to access it that way. But I love the help right here because I know the student got it. I know they saw it as soon as they logged in. They know to check that. It gets to be a good habit, and it doesn't take any time for them to do it. So it's also a wonderful resource for keeping the students on task and ready to go, and keeping that communication open with the students. So the third best practice is formative assessment. Waiting till the end is not enough. We've got to evaluate the student's progress continuously throughout the project. And StrataLogica has built-in assessment available for you that are really easy to use. So when you're waiting to the end, sometimes it's too late. You can't alter or change, redirect the learning. So they usually, as students, they just forget about it, move on to the next lesson. But we want to continuously have them strive towards their best work, just like we want to always be the best teachers. So in this lesson, Women in Poetry, you can see exactly what each student has contributed. So I feel like this is, especially in projects, such a wonderful formative assessment tool. You can easily see, as we've talked about before, whether a student has completed anything at all, whether one student is doing everything, and sometimes you have students that take over on their own, but it's really nice to see what each student has contributed. And it's so easy to do on that right-hand side. So all you need to do then to see what the student added to the project is select the I. So you can see here that my I and Albert's I are selected. I haven't added anything because I am the facilitator of this lesson, but this is what Albert added. So immediate feedback can be directed toward the student about their contribution. It makes grading and evaluating so easy. Very quickly, you know exactly what's been done. One thing about this is usually you have to wait till the next class period or till the next day to see what has been done. This can be done at any time. StrataLogica also is building teamwork using this so the students also can assess each other. I see you haven't started. Do you need some help, or is your internet connection failing? What's going on? How can I help you? You know, because we're a team, we're working towards this one goal. So all these skills are being built that for college and career readiness. Teachers don't have to wait. All the progress is shown right in real time. So as soon as a student does something, they get then, you can see it on the page. So this is great for, a lot of times I will start a lesson in class and then later they will have time in their classroom to work on it as I collaborate with other teachers, and that then helps me to see how can I help these students? Is there anybody that didn't understand? And as they work more with this, they get better at communicating these things with you, immediately asking more questions. And it just really takes getting comfortable with it and trial. So another self-assessment is super easy using the toolbox in the bottom left-hand corner and just dropping a pin as the self-assessment pin you can see at the white arrow. So this was super easy to do. Then you've got an evaluation going right then. And I really love guiding the students in self-evaluation because my hope is that as they continue through projects and presentations, they will be doing this on their own throughout the lesson. So there are lots of questions you could ask. Any of the ones here. What more is needed then to finish? What's your estimated time frame to finish? Have you met or exceeded your objectives? In what ways have you exceeded any of the objectives? Do you feel you've gone above and beyond what's being asked and improved it? How have you worked with your team? So lots of different ways to use just a simple pen. You could even use the T or text tool to just write it directly on the page. Especially with presentations, you could then just add it to a final slide. And the students could then add their answers and submit it to you. So just tons of ways in StrataLogica to use formative assessments. And my favorite is really just knowing what they're doing at all times. If I've given them an hour, I know what they've completed at 30 minutes. And then I can go to those students or send a note, let them know that they need to speed it up, use time wisely. Time management is important. So it's just, getting into these habits that we're trying to build with our students. Okay. Number 4, accessibility. Obviously, StrataLogica is web-based. We've talked a lot about it being real-time, but that's all part of the accessibility. It's available. It utilizes collaboration so easily with projects, even presentations, even just simple pages of a map can be collaborated with. It also enhances your ability for student equity and equality. They know that the requirements are for everybody. They can see other people's work. So these things are to help. Every student contributes in student equity. No one's getting the back burner. I know, as you do, students, there are some students that are going to do more work than other students given the opportunity of a poster like one of my children just completed. She brought it home and redid it because it was not to her standards, which was partly just her quality of work that she expects from herself, but there was not a lot of equity in that project. She did most of it. But in StrataLogica, equity is built in by seeing what each student contributes. So I really love that feature. Every student's learning, every student is producing quality work. So then, final thing is you've got so many resources that can be included into the presentation, whether the students choose or whether the teacher decides what needs to be in there. Resources can then be added in. So here we go. So once again, back to the Alabama from 1914 to 1945. Real-time collaboration we've already talked about with you just refresh the page. The new things that have been added are right there, available for everyone. Also, your ease of communication is right there in notes. I love that the students can work on their own device. I get distracted by others sometime, or when you're working on one device, like a computer or even a poster board, mostly one person is doing that work. The others are sitting back. A lot of distractions can happen. So in this, whether you have Chromebooks, iPads, desktops, laptops, whatever device you have, they can all be being utilized at the same time. And once again, many devices are supported in StrataLogica. It is available as an app or a web-based program. So really easy to assign and give to your students and expect them to be able to complete projects. The toolbox in the bottom left-hand corner once again adds several things. So in this you see a pin at Holtville, Alabama in the 1940s. The pins allow YouTube videos, photos, primary documents to easily be embedded into the picture or into the map to enhance the learning. And StrataLogica has also added the ability to add pictures from your device. So if you're doing something especially locally, I love this. They can take pictures of themselves at places. You can embed it into your map. Really neat place. We like to do a lot on vacations. I have a student going to Alaska now, and I've already requested pictures that I can utilize in StrataLogica. So I'm super excited about that. I'm glad that StrataLogica continues to push and add new features. So this particular pin at Holtville, Alabama opens a video about rural life in Alabama. So not only do students see exactly where Holtville is located, but they can also watch the video of the area using different resources to learn and share. So let's go a little farther out. So here we are learning the history of chocolate. So learners then, once again, this is a photo of a cocoa bean on a tree. Even though they may never see a cacao tree, they can visualize it here. Not only that, relate it to the place it's located in Central America. They can also then take the distance tool, which is available in the toolbox, and record the distance between their hometown and where chocolate comes from in the world. So it's a really great way to use multiple interactions with the map, with photos, with videos, and all this is accessible directly in the program. All it takes is embedding a photo or a video or something from your own computer. So you can see that StrataLogica allows students to enhance their learning and to manipulate the map and continuously learn. One thing I also really enjoy about StrataLogica that was something I didn't think about, but as a student, if a student created this presentation, they are then looking at multiple different pictures of a cocoa tree, of a chocolate plant, to determine which one they want to find. So I found, especially with videos and other pictures, well, I like this one the best because I felt it showed the bean the best, but I saw this picture of how it looks from afar, and it was really neat. You know, I've seen lots of talk about that, especially with videos. This video really had the most information, but some other video had these other facts. And so a lot of times they'll add that then into their description, and it's really enhanced learning. So they're not only getting what they put on the screen, they're getting all the other things they determined were not quite what they needed before they found this that they decided to embed. And finally, metacognitive strategies. And we at our school are really focusing on this, releasing to the student, giving the student ownership of their learning, and StrataLogica allows that perfectly. So we're going to show the students how to plan and organize, monitor their own work, evaluate their goals and teamwork abilities, direct their learning further than we even ask them to go, and reflect all along the way. So I know you can see some of these best practices really do, they just fit right into each other. So it's an important tool. All of these self-monitoring tools are so important for our 21st century learners. No one's too young to practice and develop these skills. We have kindergartners that set goals and then determine, when they've decided their goal should have been done, their plan for the end when they've met that goal, they then determine whether they've done it or not. And no one is too young, for sure. Now in StrataLogica, back to the Alabama from 1914 to 1945, in this particular lesson, students were given a very general requirement and time period. So they had to drop a pin and location of a historic event during that particular time period that they were given. They had to add a primary source document or a video about that event. So once again, they're searching through all these resources. They're having to utilize their time. If they've got 20 minutes and 15 of it is spent finding a document, well, my time wasn't spent quite where I need it to be. So that's something that they'll then evaluate and reflect on later. Finally, they had to add a description about their video. Here we see a completed project. In a project like this, students easily can plan then how they will meet their objective. With such general directions, where they go with it is super easy. They can organize who's going to do what event, promoting communication, collaboration, teamwork. They don't want two people doing Holtville, Alabama in the 40s. That wouldn't work. They also have several options, as we saw before, to reflect, monitor their own learning with their peers and with the teacher as the facilitator. I like setting a goal schedule for the completion of each requirement, and in a short time, especially in library, because I only have them once a week usually, and for 40 minutes, we will then set out. And usually together, as my students get older, they can do it on their own, but it may be 10 minutes to find your event, 10 minutes to find your resource, 10 minutes to put it on the screen, then 10 minutes to reflect and evaluate other people's work. So we really have to break it down that way because I only have so much time. And I don't see them again for so long. So it's really important for us. So we do that a lot. I love this because there's constant learning throughout the project, and it's offered so easily in StrataLogica. So they're working on all these metacognitive skills directly in their project or presentation. So drawing from your experience, how do you see StrataLogica promoting best practices of effective teaching for you? You can add any comments or questions into the chat box. I'll be happy to answer anything if you have any questions about anything I've said, or if you want to share something that maybe you've thought of at this point of how you can utilize the best practices of teaching with StrataLogica. I always enjoy talking about StrataLogica because we use it so much, and because it really has been formulated to fit in so many different areas of learning and what we're doing right now. There's so many things out there, but the best practices that are research-based and always good for so many students, StrataLogica does very well. And collaboration, Pam, is also one of my favorite. I love when they can work together, when they can help each other. We sometimes have an expert, our expert in StrataLogica or expert in finding resources. You can go to that person and ask them questions. And then you're right, assessment is so easy. Of course, summative assessment, which is important, but I feel like for quality of work and for learning, formative is almost more valuable to the student and how they continue learning and growing as a student.